Nice. Well, I just hit the live button and we're live, but I wish we were recording that
thanks,
when we were.
Thanks for the warning, fuckface.
It's all good.
You get a more real experience when we don't know that we're being watched.
Right.
That's right.
That's fucking truth, yeah.
Isn't that the same excuse the NSA uses when they listen to our phone calls and that sort of thing?
That's maybe one of them.
We're right, yeah. No kidding.
Nice. So what's up, fellas?
Awesome.
Not a whole lot. This is the latest I've ever done a podcast.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot. Why are you here?
Well,
what is life?
I just finished watching Kobe Covington beat the piss out of Woodley, for those of you who are into UFC. Oh, sorry, spoilers. And it was friggin' awesome. I love the fact that that Covington beat the shit out of Woodley. So I've been with that. Number 4.
Oh wow!
Oh no, number 5. Pardon me.
Let me guess. Woodley got gassed, and then Woodley got beat.
Woodley got gassed when he got in the goddamn ring, and then Covington just beat the shit out of him. In round 4, Covington threw 112 shots, and Woodley threw 2. So yeah.
So I just got a
pacing.
Yeah, fuck.
I got a super important notification here on my phone. It's the second one there.
We're live. There you go. We're live now.
We're live.
It's official now because Facebook has put the notification out.
There you go.
I just showed the whole world my fucking notifications. I don't know what's even.
Yeah.
Okay, there's nothing.
Who's Joanne, Chris?
Wait a minute.
She was my hidden mistress, but
was. I don't know.
Cool.
No, thankfully that's my wife.
There you go. Nice. Well, welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Let's say for the DeEducated. Who are you guys?
Chris, go first.
You want me to do that? All right. Well, my name is Kris Campbell. I'm from Saskatoon. I've lived many places in my life, but I'm just a regular old Saskatoon dude who runs a podcast with another chucklehead. I'm an entrepreneur. I own a business in Saskatoon. I like long walks on the beach and soft jazz.
He saves a lot of money on hair products.
Well. I do, actually.
I'm not sure what Sean told you about this podcast, but it's I think you're missing the mark.
This is not the BDSM podcast. What the hell going on?
Yeah. I thought we were supposed to be getting dates on this.
Not yet, right?
Yeah. So there's precisely 2 women that tune in.
One of them's Kurt's.
That's right.
Whatever girlfriend. Yeah.
The other one's his mom, or
my mom. Be careful, Chris.
Smart boy. Too funny. Right on. Yeah. So I'm Mark, and I live here in Saskatoon, and I started podcast DeEducated with Chris. I work in the nonprofit sector, and just kind of always been very community minded. And I think we started our podcast because we saw everything that was going on, and we just needed a place where we could, scream into the void until our throats were raw. So, we love guns, violence, and pop culture. So
scream into the void. You don't normally have a voice. You don't live on the west side, then you live scream at your goddamn neighbor.
I do live on the west side.
I used to for years, man. Oh shit!
I had $1 for every time I was yelling out my front door on 33rd Street at 3:00 in the morning.
Get the fuck off my lawn!
There's West Side, and then there's 33rd Street.
Yes,
it's funny you say that. Actually, I do live on the West Side, and last night I'm cooking chicken breasts on the barbecue, and some chucklehead goes screaming around the backyard, like up and down the alleys, full throttled in an ATV. And I swear to God, he didn't have a muffler on the damn thing. It's like 10:30 at night. I'm like, okay, like it's not 11 o'clock yet, but it's like full throttle. So I had to go.
So you
out into
picked
the
up your
back
banjo and started plucking away.
yeah, exactly.
Well, man, we moved out to the east side. A few years ago, but I lived on the west side for over 12 years, and it's so funny. So we get into this new house where we moved in, the whole shebang, and we're here like 3 months. Some dude gets shot outside of a bar at our like.
Did he deserve it?
Oh, I'm probably, you know, like, yeah, you know,
always.
people, you know,
Don't you judge?
Yeah, right. Well, actually, I think what ended up happening is apparently there was some fight amongst each other, and then the guy apparently rucks up and like starts like going all gangster gangbangy on the other guy, and then runs off. So they know who he is, and they're trying to track this guy down.
Gangbangy?
Yeah, he was like, you know, I'm sure, guaranteed he had his gat held hot sideways. You know,
yeah,
to get to the
absolutely.
pool,
There's
sure.
no posers
By
around
gat,
here.
do you
is there?
mean airsoft pistol that's modified to fire 22?
Yeah, pretty freaking much, right? Like, brutal.
Yeah, big
Chances
time
are-
here, boy.
Chances are it was a high power and called it a Glock 40.
Yeah.
Well, so I'm outnumbered now with you three Saskatoon folk. I'm the only Regina guy.
Oh, well, we're sorry to hear that you're in Regina.
Hey, I'm not talking about guys getting shot in my friend's step. So,
No,
okay.
Yeah, but that's fair. That's fair. It's stabbed. It smells like.
That's only because nobody can
everywhere.
afford guns.
Well, yeah. Sorry. Hey, actually, I'm selling a gun to a local guy here for pretty $mid right now. So don't you say that, Chris. And let's knock on wood. He hasn't sent the EMT yet, but
The two of you. Yeah, but okay. Yeah.
we got some good dudes. You were just down here doing Maple Seed, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
How was that?
That was pretty good, actually. Bit of a smaller group, but a lot of the groups have been a little bit smaller this year. The COOF is messing up everything, but definitely some good shooters. We had two guys show up.
What did you have for a class size? Wasn't there 8 or 12 or something?
There were eight in this one, yeah.
And
so
how many?
They always cap them at 15.
Yeah.
We had, and this time we had we had me, there was Rick, there was Chris, and there was Ryan. So there were 4 of us for instructors to a class of 8. So basically it was 1 to 2 sort of a thing. But it was really good. We had a young guy, we had a couple of brothers, and we had 2 competitive guys with fucking $5,000 voodoo rigs.
Oh, no.
Crazy. They're those South African dudes.
Yeah, the nameless South African men who I'm sure nobody knows in Regina. Yeah, they showed up ready to fucking go. They made sure that if they were going to miss a shot, it would have nothing to do with the platform.
Nice.
Yeah,
So
it was pretty good. The sweet guns they had, man.
Well, yeah, they were running voodoos in MPA chassis, right?
I
think so.
I'm trying to remember what chassis they had now.
Well,
I think that
one
was in an MDT.
Okay.
And I can't even remember what the other one was in.
I think we'll just say not full name, but Rudy's gun was in a MDT or MPA, and it was like a greenish color, wasn't it? I believe so.
Yeah, they were
fairly
both kind of greenish camo.
And then you put that up against a bone stock 1022 and right?
It's a little bit different. I mean, at 25 meters, I'm not sure how much of a difference they make, but you go a little further than that, they're certainly going to make a difference.
Oh, no kidding. And how many riflemen did you get out of that course?
Just 2. Take your guess who they were.
Yeah, exactly. The only 2 guys we're talking about.
Yeah.
Friend of the show, Matt Shirley, took that. And didn't he have a catastrophic malfunction or something like that? And he had to borrow your gun or something?
Well, he had borrowed a gun to begin with. And it was it kind of looked like a stock 1022, but it was in an ATI stock. And I don't know what it was, whether it was like he didn't have a particularly I don't even know what brand of scope he had, but it looked like a pretty entry level scope. And I don't know what it was, but like at 25 meters, you were shooting like 1-inch groups, which is a lot. That's quite a big group at 25 meters. So he went through like 2/3 of it thinking it was him. So they put was it Ryan, I think, got down behind his rifle. And like Ryan's a guy who like regularly, like if he scores below 230 on a qualifying target, then he must have indigestion or something.
Didn't he clean his first MQT?
Ryan?
Yeah.
Like as in get a 250?
Yeah.
No. As far as I know, nobody's ever scored a 250.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I know that some people have scored close, but we just requalified the Saskatchewan instructors back in, I think it was August, and I forget what Ryan got. It was like 230 something. Like I think he's pretty consistently 230s,
Right.
which is well above average. But he was still shooting like 1-inch groups with that thing. So
Wow.
So we swapped it out for my gray birch. Doug got his rifleman patch for the bones. Yeah, you know what, Doug? You did that. Were you talking about in Drumheller last year?
He's like, nah, no big deal.
Yeah, no big deal. You know what? I got a lot of respect for Doug. You know, I met Doug when he.
You're one of 3.
No.
Well, I'm not saying like as a person or anything.
Strictly
but you know,
a shooter.
The dude basically got one arm, and he came out to that Drumheller event last year, and he was doing the weirdest friggin' positions and just like trying to make it work, like whatever he could do. And he hung in there for the whole day, man, and even qualified, I'm pretty sure, last year. He did friggin' great.
Nice.
Anyway, so yeah, it was just a piece of shit setup, but there's something wrong with that rifle of Matthews. So I swapped it out for the gray birch that I'm still in the process of building. And I mean, in terms of accuracy, he had no problems after that. The only problem after that is that I've got a 45-year-old stock Ruger bolt in it, and the extractor doesn't quite grab like it used to. I'm waiting for gray birch to release their bolt. So I literally just took it out of my dad's old 1022 that he bought sometime in the 70s. And so, yeah, super expensive receiver and barrel with a stock bolt that's older than I am.
How do you like that gray birch? It looks like,
you know what, that is,
nice stuff.
First of all, let me say that I'm not being paid by Gray Birch because like I've been talking them up quite a bit.
He's being paid by them. No.
Yeah. You think that I am the way that I talk about them.
Hey, blowjobs are blowjobs. So I'm just saying, you know,
no judgment.
They're not even in my province, man.
Why are you going to Calgary all the time, Chris? What's up?
I'm just saying that you know I subscribe to their OnlyFans and you know we our relationship has blossomed since then. Anyway,
Steven
so
and Jeff have OnlyFans from that they didn't tell me that.
Well, you have to be in the know, Sean.
I guess so. I'm not special enough to get a gray birch receiver, you know. So anyway,
so it's an amazing rifle. There's no question about it. Like, it's funny. We were out there the night before the Maple Seed in Regina, and your guys' range goes out to 200 meters, right? So, and then what is it, an 8-inch or
it's 203 with a 10-inch at 200, I believe.
It's a 10-inch.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so it was almost getting boring hitting that gong at 200 meters. Yeah, and at one point, Matt was like, "You're not even hitting it. Like you're not hitting it because it wasn't making really good pings at 200 meters." And I was like, "Man, like I guarantee you, I'm hitting this thing." So, like I would start aiming low, and I would see spliffs right in the center, right below it. So then I'd start aiming high, and like just not seeing anything at all, but it was just making dull thuds rather than loud pings. And then I reconfirmed it yesterday and today. I had it out yesterday and today at the Silhouette range in Saskatoon. And same thing, like there's a little blue, I think it's not even a 10-inch, I think it's like an 8-inch gong at 200 meters. And when you're elbow resting off of the bench on that thing, it's almost boring at 200 meters. So it's a great rifle.
And like shooting that rifle, like I have, I don't know if you guys heard all my issues with my Remington 597 and all that shit, but fuck. Anyway, but yeah, I got to shoot it yesterday, and yeah, like it's like shooting air. Like you're literally like barely even holding it, you know. So yeah, it's freaking awesome. I love it.
No, that's the carbon fiber barrel too, in the LDR, whatever it is. Right?
It balances it out really nice. Yeah. Man, I wish I could have a can on the. Do you guys follow them on social media?
Yeah.
Yeah,
they put obviously, you know, when you're a manufacturer, you can get away with having toys that regular plebs aren't allowed to have, and they've got a
he's
can
not wrong in that description.
No, plebiscites are.
But man, I want to become a backyard manufacturer just so I can put a suppressor on the end of my gray birch.
Well, you just gotta I think order that would just buy it. Wish.
Yeah, well, I could do that, but those guys seem to be getting caught. The guys in Manitoba that are doing that, so that seems like a good way to end a career.
No kidding.
By the way, Doug, I saw your comment, man. I would never laugh at you. I got a lot of respect for somebody who's got physical challenges and comes out there and outshoots people who have absolutely no challenges at all. I think Doug is the tits.
Doug is, and obviously, like, you not to suck his dick too hard. I like to use that on the show.
Yeah, here. You got to stop using that.
but you know, I met Doug a couple times, and like just pure salt of the earth individual. Like he'll give you the shirt off his back if you needed it. You know what I mean? And so there you go.
As long as you give him a shout out.
There's your one compliment per year that you get.
That's right.
Now, back on your head. Back to work.
Nice. Right on. So you guys have the DeEducated Podcast.
Yeah.
Why did you start that?
Why did we start it?
Yeah.
Well, you know, like Mark was saying before, we just got we started it around COVID, and I don't think that's too much of a coincidence. We were talking about ideas and throwing stuff around for quite a while, but I think COVID was right about the right time to do it, because I think our heads were going to explode with all the ridiculousn's that's been going on. And
for sure,
Mark and I are maybe we're a weird group of guys. You know, we're you know, politically we're typically not conservative. We're more center, maybe a little center right. Mm-hmm. But we're like avid gun owners. We believe very strongly in personal freedoms, and you know, which are, you know, certainly don't fit with the current government, which seems to be a lot more authoritarian. We're both high school, not high school dropouts. We graduated high school, but we're both university dropouts. We both went to university to do the thing that you're supposed to do after high school. And we both dropped out of it, hated that, you know, it just wasn't for us. But we also, like, I don't know how to explain this. Like, we're not the smartest guys in the world, but we like learning new things. And we value intelligent pursuits, if you want to put it that way. Mm-hmm. And so we just kind of developed a lifestyle where we taught ourselves things. You know, I went to massage school for 2 years, even afterwards, didn't graduate from that either, but I just, you know, bought all the textbooks and basically taught it to myself. And I got a personal training certification for my business by challenging the exam and just grabbing the manuals and reading the manuals and learning everything, you know, what you call we are what you call autodidactic, which means that, you know, we teach ourselves pretty easily. Mm-hmm. And so it just seemed like the right theme, you know, like everybody is so concerned about listen to the science and listen to the people who are educated, who spend their money spending 4 to 7 years in university because they're the actual smart people in the world. Well, fuck you, man. Like being educated makes you educated. It doesn't make you smart.
Well, and I think that was just it, is that I know that we were kind of sitting at this point where it was like, there's lots of podcasts, but there wasn't podcasts that was really kind of, centered around this concept of kind of pushing against the narrative of the super educated, right? And we're by no means like anti-vaxxers or any of that shit. I get a little conspiratorial every so often, because the goddamn Anunnaki are going to take over, and all of that shit, or the communists are coming, one of the two. But
chemicals are turning the frogs gay.
Yeah, they're turning the frogs gay, right? Like none of that shit. But the bottom line is that there's a lot of people out there, especially like here in our province, who have these center beliefs, whether it's politically or pardon me, politically, but they have center beliefs, on the economy, on gay marriage. Like I always say, I don't give a fuck, man. I hope that you can defend your gay marriage and your pot plants with rifles. You know what I mean? And there isn't a voice for that type of person in this province. Everybody looks at us like we're the Alabama of Saskatchewan or of Canada. And
all just because one guy fucked his sister.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what? It happens. It
happens. Oops, slip. But yeah, so we just wanted to start something for people that was a little bit more, closely related to their own political beliefs, right? Because either you got these people who are hard left and hard right, and well, guess what, man? Most people, they're right in the freaking middle, like
for sure.
Yeah, especially here.
And at the same time, we punch and kick and choke people for a living, and we get punched and kicked and choked. So, and we shoot a lot. So, we wanted to. So
it's okay.
Yeah, well, I used to get paid to do so. Then the fucking government started telling me what I can do with my own business, and lo and behold, they're not very good at running businesses. So,
you don't say,
right? Yeah, imagine that, huh? Everything that they keep telling me to do with my business, for some reason, it just keeps making less and less revenue.
Yeah,
it's kind of fucked up. I was looking at some statistics today. 60%, this is in the US, but 60% of small businesses are permanently closed in the United States. We're looking at
60%.
60. Yeah. We're looking at 30 to 40% in this province or in this country itself. So and we don't even have a pandemic anymore. We have a case-demic, right? It's not even like I know people died, and we always say this on the podcast. Like it's tragic when people die, but for fuck's sake, there's been 24 people that have died. More people, right? Yeah, well, more.
You know
people,
what's tragic? The 9 million cancer deaths this year are tragic.
Right?
Oh Jesus!
No
kidding.
Or how about the people who die from medical malpractice every year?
Yeah.
Hundreds of thousands.
Yeah. Well, and you guys, like, tell me, do you know anybody who has COVID?
Oh no shit.
Do you know anybody that had it, that tested positive? Yeah. Right? So it's like, sorry, I know I'm poking the bear, but it's just like,
long story short, as far as the podcast is concerned, we basically decided that intelligence is the gathering of information, and wisdom is the ability to understand and contextualize information.
Disseminate shit from actual fact. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And that, going to school, you can gather knowledge, but there seems to be a very serious lack of wisdom in our society these days, and when it comes to applying that knowledge. And so we just got tired of biting our lip, so we decided you may as well spout off on the internet and piss as many people off as possible.
Yeah. Sean, did you tell Mark that this podcast is going to be 4 hours long? You see the size of that water bottle?
That's just half-hour water bottle.
I'm a large man, okay, but yeah, look at that bitch, eh?
That's straight off the water cooler with the fucking.
That's a 2/3, 2/3 water cooler jug.
It's awesome, man. That's a wish special there too, man. Look at that bitch, eh?
Wow, 2/3 Culligan. Hang that sucker up at 200 yards.
Man, I just realized that I was in the private chat.
Oh
man, all kinds of fucking people talk on this thing. Hey,
yeah, this program's great. Hey, I love it.
Nice.
Yeah.
There you go.
There might be something to this live podcasting. We don't do live, hey. We just pre-record it.
Yeah.
Right?
Usually
Yeah.
we record on
That's
Sunday.
why
and
I
put
said
it
I
on
wanted the
Monday.
opportunity to watch live and comment and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh shit, that won't end well. Yeah. Just get to play more with each other. Just hold on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right on. So you guys are both entrepreneurs, but you guys talk a lot about not just guns, but fitness and martial arts.
Yeah.
And why is that? Because I'm a big fat guy. I don't know if
Right.
you've noticed, but me and Kurt were literally just talking.
My people.
Me and Kurt, yeah. We were just talking last week about hunting and how physical fitness is paramount to success in hunting. Well, that just goes for in life too. And anyway, back to the question.
Yeah. So I know for myself, we did a whole thing about getting older and whatnot on one of our podcasts, but I know I want to be as physically fit as I possibly can. And I jokingly say for the zombie apocalypse, but I do want to I want to live as long as I can. And I think that, the physical fitness and especially around martial arts, you can pick up a heavy thing and put it back down a whole bunch of times in a gym, or you can go do a martial art and actually learn a useful skill, like choking, punching and kicking people and actually stay in shape while doing it, and
I just live in the west end of Saskatoon.
It's like living in the zombie fucking apocalypse in the west.
Getting ready for Marcus of Queensbury boxing there.
Yes. That's how we do it around
Pre-Marcus of Queensbury.
And so I know for myself, like that's the big thing, right? Is being able to stay as healthy as I can, and not a word of a lie, man. Like I joke about the zombie apocalypse, but I want to be able to defend myself, right? Like I like firearms because you can hunt and this and that, and at closer ranges. I'm just saying, 400 yards straight down to close quarter, right? You should be able to be skillful. So I think it's important. I think it's important. Yeah.
I have to tell you that one of the most depressing days of my life was December 22nd, 2012.
Right. You were ready in the bunker, right? You're like, oh yeah, it's coming. Yeah.
Looking around.
Oh,
come on, guys. Come on.
It's that Black Rifle coffee ad where the lights go out and they all get geared up in half a second. It's like, sorry guys, we had a power flick. He made a bomb.
I know. It was like April 17th, and I'm like, this is the most boring apocalypse ever.
You guys are probably old enough to remember Y2K, eh?
Oh, probably.
They are.
Probably. It's like, what were you guys doing during Y2K?
I was trailing my grandson.
Whittling him on his front porch with a coal fire.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, shit.
Putting my teeth in.
I just laid down with the missus, and it was a good book.
Right.
Writing a note on a quill and ink.
Hello, mother.
So none of you were in your bomb shelters, is what you're saying?
No, unfortunately, no.
Yeah, it's nice having the end of the world come every once in a while, but
absolutely,
the current one kind of sucks. But back to Doug, you missed literally nothing.
Yes.
Back to fitness. So like Mark wants to live forever. Personally, I don't want 20-year-olds. I don't want people half my age to be able to beat me up. So, for me, well, I've been involved in martial arts since I was 5 years old. I mean, the business that I own is a martial arts school, in my lifetime, I've studied multiple styles of traditional martial arts. I have a black belt in a particular style of sport karate. I did American kickboxing, which is basically boxing with kicks, for a lot of years. And then, started transition that into Muay Thai, transitioned that into Krav Maga, and then started doing Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. So it's kind of what I do for a living. And if you're not fit at that, then, a lot of people will beat you up. But, at the same time, it's interesting. You guys say that like we're interested in fitness, and we are interested in fitness, I suppose. But frankly, I'm a lot less interested in what most people think of as when they say the fitness industry than I used to be. These days, I couldn't give two shits what I look like. I
That's
care. What's that?
I said that's apparent. Yeah.
But
dude, you let yourself go.
I know, right?
Says
but you know what?
Says the skinny guy, right?
Yeah. You know what that is though? That's camouflage is what that is, because honestly though, I care about what I can do, right? I don't care about what I look like anymore. And if I can last in a 45-minute to an hour long sparring session or grappling session with people half my age, then I'm happy. And that's really what it's about. And, talking about hunting, for example, you don't need to be the 6-pack guy, with the bar muscles. In fact, I can't tell you how often. If I had a dollar for every time a bar star walked into my gym and threw up halfway through his first workout, or got the crap kicked out of him the first time that he stepped into the ring to spar, like, show muscles don't mean anything.
Meanwhile, we're standing over him. The 40-year-old guy standing over him going, "You all right, man? You're gonna be okay?" Yeah.
Well, I'll never forget the day that I won't mention his name on air, but Marco, remember this guy, this like young, fit 22-year-old guy who was like 6'3", 225 pounds, 6-pack, ripped up, the whole 9 yards, and the guy couldn't even do a cross-legged squat.
Yeah.
Like cross your legs over while you're standing, and then sit down into a cross-legged seated position, and like, if you can't do that, then what good are your show muscles other than to get women?
That's the thing, that functional stuff versus the show stuff is there's a huge difference.
Absolutely. So I couldn't care about that stuff anymore.
You want to get pussy, or do you want to take care of yourself?
Right.
Well, that's basically what it is, right?
Right.
Like,
it is.
Yeah.
And chicks dig scars anyway, so if you get all fucked up fighting, girls will want to talk to you anyway. So
anyway.
Not even just like about physical fitness, but being able to defend yourself and your own family, and when, especially in a country where it's not necessarily legal to use firearms in a self-defense. Well, it is, but it's not.
But it's not.
I think in Canada, being able to physically defend yourself is probably the most overlooked, which is tragic, because I think it is probably, especially in Canada, is probably the most important. Because like you said, it's very difficult to use a firearm cleanly in self-defense in this country.
Well, you have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that you were in fear of losing your life or someone around, like, someone within your vicinity's life.
Yeah, and you had to you have to prove that you couldn't escape, or you couldn't, there's a variety of different things. And so that's what I've always said, it's the main reason, like, especially with Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, like, that I train in it, right, is that you can incapacitate somebody and really not with no effort, but with a lot less effort. And the worst thing that's going to happen to them is they're going to pass out, and you'll be able to continue on, So, like, you have to be able to defend yourself. Like, I can't imagine walking in life and not being able to deal with stuff. And the reality is I don't know, man, maybe I'm a little bit more paranoid, but I think we're living in the frickin' end of the Roman Empire. So who the hell knows what's going to happen in the next 10 to 15 years, And I want to be a 50-year-old guy that can tool the hell out of a 20-year-old, to Chris's point. And I think
if you had to.
If I had to, yeah.
Right.
I'm not walking around like grabbing 20-year-olds and like clinching them in the grocery store and beating the shit out of them. But
so
my fucking avocado, bitch.
You didn't walk down the right arrow, you asshole.
Like, I got into it a bit a few weeks ago with my buddy from Arm and Gun from Instagram.
Yep.
He's a local here in Regina, a friend of mine. But I was talking to him, and he was saying, I said, he's got one of those links, those GM6 links, 50 cals.
Yep.
And I said, okay, that's a cool freaking gun, and just for that reason alone, you should own it. But what's the practical purpose for that gun? Like, what do you think
for a GM6?
Yeah. but without trying
if
to
you're
shoot.
an Instagrammer, there's a practical
For
purpose
sure,
for it.
but if you're not a
soft target, yeah.
Well, if you're not in the military, actively participating in operations, trying to take out people, why do you think you need to own that gun? And he says, well, I own it, A, because I can, and I'm a capitalist, and B, if North Korea or China rolls tanks down Albert Street, I want to be able to effectively negate those tanks.
He's ready for Red Dawn.
I said, fair enough, because that goes back to the end of the Roman Empire days. But anyway, it's just
I agree.
One more point here, real quick on. Sorry, I'm going to cut you off, Mark. One more point on self-defense in Canada. Really, yeah. I always cut him off. Whatever. I didn't even listen to what the fuck he said.
No, I just saw
who's this fourth guy that you guys brought on the show?
I was hitting buttons. I landed.
He just guessed the password at random. Anyway, let's say you're using a fish bat, a baseball bat, a golf club. I don't give a fuck. Whatever you're using,
Mark's water bottle.
Self-defense at home. Mark's water bottle, like it's heavy enough.
That's a lethal weapon right there.
Whatever your chosen self-defense weapon is, it's only effective for you to use in defense of yourself, so long as you're in control of it.
Yeah,
right.
And quite frankly, the average person, like the average citizen, doesn't have the balance to stay on their own feet, let alone stay in control of whatever weapon they've chosen to defend themselves with,
or the intestinal tract.
Yeah, or exactly right. That can happen sometimes too.
It does.
Sorry, I'm gonna leapfrog off of your point though. Like we've even done like women's self-defense seminars and this and that, and I've had people say, or a woman will be like, "Well, I carry pepper spray." I'm like, "Okay, so you have it in your purse." Right, you carry pepper spray inside your purse. Like my wife can't find her.
What are you going to do when you accidentally pepper spray yourself?
Right, like my wife can't find her cell phone in her purse. Now you're going to find it while somebody's in the middle of trying to attack you. You're going to pull it out, hit the thing, take it out, push it like it.
Yeah,
it's just it's not.
I think the average person is really under the misconception of what combat actually looks like.
Absolutely.
And like I'll fully admit, I've never been in the military. I've never been in a combat situation where someone is trying to kill me. But I've competed in full contact fighting, and I know what it's like to stand across the ring from somebody when you've got nowhere else to go. Running away isn't an option, and the person is literally trying to knock you unconscious because they don't want to go and they don't want to fight you for all of the rounds.
Yeah.
And people are people are like, "Oh, I've been in lots of street fights." Yeah, you've been in lots of street fights against somebody who also hasn't got a fucking clue what they're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You want to take a chance, like just come up against your typical soldier. I don't think that they get a lot of hand-to-hand training, but they get enough they get some at least. The average person gets none. Like what are you going to do when you come up against somebody and you fall down?
Right.
Or when you try to grab your baseball bat from the corner of your front porch and the guy closes distance too far and you don't even know what the hell to do and he's too close for you to swing the bat at him.
And now this has been going on for 30 seconds, 40 seconds. Your conditioning is shit. You're panicking and you're breathing heavy and you get gassed at 1 minute. Now
you don't know how to handle the adrenaline dump that comes with
100%.
the fight or flight response.
Yeah.
And you expel all your energy within 30 to 40 seconds and then you're fucked. Then you're done. Or if you're getting mugged and that person has a blade and they're within 21 feet of you, it doesn't matter what they're going to do. They're still going to close that distance and cut you.
Absolutely.
So, how are you going to, affect that? Or how are you going to mitigate that, failure? And that's what, like, why I with me being a boat, we lost Kurt. That's okay.
How do you chat in this fucking thing? Like, where's the?
You see where it says post a comment, Chris?
No, I don't.
Okay, go to comments at the top. Do you see that?
Yeah.
And then click on that, and then go post a comment.
There is no post a comment option at the bottom.
I shared it, the DeEducated Podcast.
What if I click on the having issues button?
I don't know. This is great radio, by the way. But with this being a gun podcast, and I do believe people should have the right to conceal carry, because I think open carry is fucking stupid. Yeah. Just in the sense that you don't want to broadcast that you have a deadly weapon on you.
Agreed. Yeah.
But because that isn't a thing in Canada, martial arts is probably your next best step to help mitigate that possible damage to your body. Because it doesn't matter what you're going to do. You're going to get hit and you're going to get hurt. Yeah. And it's how you can, like, I come from the world of bouncing where, you get sucker punched just for looking at a guy wrong. Yeah. And it's not only, you can throw a punch against these gym rats, but how are you going to come back? How are you going to get back up? How are you, when you're on your back, how do you deal with that? How do most people don't know until they get mounted and they're getting their head pummeled into the fucking concrete.
That's right. That's where it usually goes sideways for people. Yeah. It's the old Mike Tyson quote. Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth.
Yep.
Everybody thinks they know what they would do. Yeah. But unless it's the same as like take it back to firearms training. Do you watch what the hell's his name? John Lovell, Warrior Poet Society. Yep. I think that guy's got his shit figured out. He teaches handgun, he teaches rifle, but you know what? He was a wrestler in high school, and he sought out high level practitioners, and he trains hand-to-hand combat. It's a part. If you're truly interested in defending yourself and your ability to defend yourself, first of all, you need to be able to handle yourself verbally. Because verbally can avoid certain situations. And
your first step in any situation, whether you're going to have a conflict, is to de-escalate that situation so you don't get to physical violence in the first place.
Absolutely. And maybe that should even be number 2 verbally, because number 1 really should just be awareness.
Self-awareness.
If you're aware of what's going on around in your world, then you can avoid most situations out there. Yeah. So let's put verbal number 2. Third, you have to be able to handle yourself physically. Because there are just way, way, way too many situations where you're not going to have the distance or the time or whatever to use a firearm. What is it? The American statistic, the average firearm incident in the United States takes place at about 7 meters?
7 feet, I believe.
7 feet? Is it 7 feet?
Yep.
So, I mean, you want to talk about being within your 25 foot knife range, if the average is 7 feet, that's not a lot. Of space,
and you're done within a matter of 2 to 3 seconds.
Yeah, right? Absolutely.
Yeah. So
I mean, you have to have the physical, and then you should have weapons training. You should have weapons training with blunt instruments. You should have it with knives, and you should have it with guns for sure.
Well, and the other thing is, not only should you have this training, but you need to keep consistent with it. The number of times, like we've had this on the podcast, we talked about this with the cops. Biggest issue with the cops is that they go through training once a fucking year. You've got guys,
and they fire their 22 rounds of 9mm with a piece of shit pistol that shouldn't even be in combat. If you're an RCMP officer, and then you throw them to the wolves on some reserve or something, and try.
And their hand to hand is even worse.
And their hand to hand is even worse. It's absolutely atrocious, and that's just it. Is it so you have these people that they're walking through life with I took a self-defense class that one time. Oh, well, what do you freaking do for you? As soon as that, like you say, as soon as you get that adrenaline dump, as soon as there's that engagement, somebody falls to the ground. I think what's really tragic is that not only do we have police that are, hey, he's back. Not only do we have police that are so poorly trained, but we have people that work in healthcare. We have people who work in social services. We give them this PAT or part training bullshit thing that's like I've literally had
they get handcuffed, like they're not allowed to defend themselves in any meaningful way.
Like I had a student of mine, she was only allowed what do you call it, she worked in a halfway house, and they had to have 2 people. They had to put their arms around the guy, they were allowed to put their arms around, and then the other person was allowed to do a trip. So the one person could trip, the one person could grab. And I said, okay.
Put your arms around him while he's shanking you with his knife.
Yeah. Right. And I said, so show me the trip. And she goes, okay. So it kind of goes like, sort of like, and I'm like, you're gonna sort of like maybe as he's like stabbing you or punching you, like some pissed off teenager, right? So like that's the reality that we see out there, that we're telling people whose lives are in danger that, oh, you're fine, you're trained. I've ranted about this before. There's going to be lawsuits. Hear me now, quote me later. There's going to be freaking lawsuits that are going to come down on cities and governments because they're telling people that they're trained and they're not. They're just
for sure
not. You know.
Well, and what?
And
so
let's not.
Sorry, Chris.
Go ahead. No, I was just going to say we should pause for a minute so that we can talk about some of these guys that are making comments. But you go ahead first, because I don't know how much you're supposed to interact with these people. Or are they supposed to be like, the people under the stairs that are here that we ignore? I don't know how this goes.
Well, there's some of them.
Yeah. Well, that's just Luke.
Okay. All right. So Luke's out.
No, but so I work for an American company, and I've been doing it for 2 years, or 2.5 roughly. And so my orientation down in Pennsylvania was, okay, here's where the buildings are. Here's your laptop. Here's your whatever. Here's your customer list. And then also you need to go take this half-hour-long active shooter training.
Right.
Excuse me? Yeah. Well, yeah, you have to take this active shooter training. Okay, and as I'm walking into the building to take the active shooter training, no guns allowed in the building, posted right on the thing. Okay, that's fine. Go in and they say, well, you
shooter training is how to duck and cover and close.
That's right. Or run and get in your truck or car and drive away. Don't fight. It's like, okay. Well,
we're going to train you how to leave women and children defenseless behind.
Yeah, exactly. And I completely disagree with that. And there's companies that make, like plate carriers and holsters that look like a laptop bag and stuff like that you should have if you're in a cubicle office scenario, and some pissed off guy who just got fired due to budget cuts or whatever, who's now getting divorced because his wife thinks he's a shitbag, and he's like, well, I've got this high power 9mm that I'm going to take into the office, and now here we go. I'm going to get easy, Kurt.
Hey.
No.
Speaking of
are you just going to charge my credit card later, or how does this work?
Speaking of high power 9mm, Kurt. But anyway, it's just
a 45 all day, boy.
You need to be spacious. Yeah, 45. What, fat and slow like me? Or anyway,
girls
sorry.
Like that.
Back to what I was saying. Oh God, you have to be spatially aware, and whether that's in a restaurant, in an office building, in wherever you are, gas station, know what's going on around you. Don't start a fight, but be able to end one. That's Absolutely. What I would say.
For sure.
And frankly, going back to John Lovell for a second, the warrior poet mentality that he promotes, it's about protecting others because you can.
Absolutely.
And that's a personal decision. You have to decide what kind of person are you. Yeah. Are you the type of person that would step in? You have to make that conscious decision beforehand. Everybody always talks about, you don't know what you would do because you've never actually been in that situation. Well, you know what? It's not just like you go on autopilot and if you train for situations, if you make the conscious decision before it ever happens, you are much more likely to react a particular way. If you just kind of go about your life pretending that there aren't bad things in the world, and then something bad happens to you, you have absolutely no idea how you're going to react.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that doesn't mean that you can't train for it.
Yeah,
because if you do train for it, if you make the conscious decision, you are more likely to react appropriately.
Yeah. Well, and that's just it. Like that's what we were kind of talking about with even the physical fitness and the fighting. Like you may never go into a competition in your life, but if you train and I punch you in the face a whole bunch of times, eventually what's going to happen is you're going to learn how to calm down, right, in a high pressure situation, so that when a high pressure situation actually happens, you're going to be able to think and react. Sorry, and I want to make one really fast comment. I know we're going to get to this other comment. What they teach kids for active shooter situations right now, I think is absolutely repugnant.
Deplorable.
They tell these kids to hide under desks and they lock them in a fucking room. I am telling you this right now.
Duck and Cover from the 50s. They just changed the title.
I'm going to teach my kid that you're going to smash a goddamn window out with a freaking desk and you're going to climb out that window. Like there were literally I can't
instead of being the fish in the barrel.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah,
I can't I can't remember which shooting it was, but it was literally the kids were in a room and they didn't break a window to get out, and they were on the first floor. Like, Are you fucking kidding me? There's no way. If the gun is over there, you need to go over there, and that's they gotta teach this shit. Sorry. Anyway,
no, you're not wrong, and you don't have to apologize. That shit people need to hear.
Absolutely.
And that's one of the reasons we started a podcast, because we want people to hear that shit. So anyway.
Closely related, I think, and before my computer shut off because I failed to plug it in. Jesus,
too much porn.
I thought you were gonna say you failed to pay your bill.
Well, we won't get
that
into
too.
That. No. That's the least of my worries in life right now. I'm telling you that. I've had this conversation several times. You hear these guys talking about we want concealed carry and we don't want to be able to carry in public and all this kind of stuff. And one of the first arguments I make with anybody that brings that up is, do you think we in this country are fucking, how do I say this, firearms mature enough to actually do that? Like you guys talked about being ready for combat or a conflict even. And how many couch commandos are out there and that thinking that, I can shoot somebody. Fuck you.
Yeah.
You have no fucking idea.
No, that's exactly right.
Man,
put yourself in that situation. Have you even shot a sparrow in your life?
Yeah. Well, and that's right. And you got these guys. They'll shoot at the 100 yards at the range, and they're fucking wheezing by the time they get down there.
Yeah.
Now you're gonna be Mr. Commando with your firearm. You're gonna be an operator. Like, get the fuck out of here.
And the decisions that you have to make in those situations, and I'm only making assumptions here, educated assumptions, because I've never been in those situations where I've had to take that kind of force or anything like that. I've been in situations where somebody's been seriously injured and all that kind of stuff, and you've got to make quick decisions. But in a situation where somebody's looking to take your life, like how many people can keep that shit together and really make good decisions under that type of pressure? And that's where I talk about the maturity, the firearms maturity in this country. It's it's not like the States where they've had it for so many years, and that knowledge and responsibility has been passed down through generations in many cases. We've never had that here, and all of a sudden, if that was passed, how many people, like how many of us would feel safe in a society now? There's all these people carrying, and you look at how people fly off the handle when somebody looks at them wrong in traffic.
Yep. You've got a great point, Kurt, and I think it's something, it crosses a lot of boundaries beyond just firearms, but I think it's obviously very important with firearms. First of all, the level of training that we currently get with firearms is absolutely dismal. Frankly, it's one of the major reasons why I've gotten so heavily involved with Project Maple Seed as I have. Like, I just latched onto those guys. I'm like, hey, an actual organized, well done group of people that are training people how to use firearms. I'm going to fucking grab onto you and not let go, because what you're doing, you don't even realize how valuable what you're doing is to your community. We don't have a lot of that. I mean, we certainly don't have any John Lovels in Canada that are in the public. We have lots of them, but none of them are in the public sphere. You know what I mean? We don't have any Jocko Willinks. Quite frankly, like we have some pretty badass special forces, and
we do.
I've been lucky enough to meet a couple of them along the road, but none of them are in the public sphere. We don't have any of that stuff. Our gun culture is, in the basement, alone in your bedroom with the lights turned off, and we can see the sheets behind you. And
I need to podcast. No.
Yeah. Like that's why that's why I think that, podcasts like you guys and podcasts like Slamfire and especially now with what the CCFR, how they're doing gun advocacy differently.
Mm-hmm.
I think that needs to happen. But I also think that firearm training needs to happen differently. It needs to be more accessible. It needs to be the word you used. It needs to be more mature. A lot less cowboy, whatever, do whatever the fuck you want. Or, I was CQP special forces and I'm just going to teach you all of the really badass stuff or stuff that I think is badass, regardless of whether it pertains to your situation as a citizen or not.
Right.
That's right.
Less Call of Duty wannabes and
that's part of the problem.
Frankly,
for sure.
Yeah, for sure it is. Like I even said, I think it was actually at my first Maple Seed, like when I went through the course, I'm like, this should be part of the PAL course, like going through.
Absolutely.
We've talked about that many times. Absolutely.
A range component, like, because you're sitting there with your freaking dummy rounds. You got to show the guy that you can freaking load and unload a bullshit rifle. Yeah. And hell, I remember when I did it, the guy goes, "How many people here have shotguns?" So I raised my hand, and he's like, "Okay, you don't need to do this part." I'm like, "Okay."
I know. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks. So,
guys,
how about
you guys watch Bloke on the Range?
Sometimes. Bloke on the Range.
Bloke on the Range. Yeah, he's a British dude in Switzerland, and I've seen a lot of their videos when just you pick up a lot of the background stuff with them being where they are. You want to talk about a country that is mature when it comes to firearms? Switzerland has got it right. I mean, they've got some pretty restrictive, pretty silly rules, obviously, but in terms of culture, they've got it down pat. I think that, for example, if they switch to a concealed carry country tomorrow, I think that they would handle it quite well. I tend to agree with you, Kurt, that most Canadians think that they would be able to handle a firearm on their hip on a regular basis, the same way that they think they would be able to handle 2 minutes in the ring with Mark or I.
Exactly.
Or with Mike Tyson, for that matter.
Right? Yeah.
Same.
Same.
Did you see he's coming back?
Mike.
He's coming back
I
to fight.
I just kind of walk around the ring for a little while. Don't let him hit me real good. Just maybe clip me a little bit. I could last 2 minutes with Mike Tyson. Yeah, the last guy who said that got knocked out in 35 seconds.
And that's when he says, I'll fuck you till you love me. That's
right. Exactly. Yeah. And then he's going to go eat your babies.
You have to watch. You heard of The Onion, yeah? Do a Google search on The Onion. I know we can't watch it right now, but do a Google search on The Onion and look up men 4,000% worse at fighting than they predict. And it's the best video ever because it's just
not even parody though. Like it's just true. Man.
Like, you hear these guys, oh man, I just hit him with a chair. What? I just hit him with a chair. But you're gonna do what now? Like just absolute bullshit.
It's just I just fucking kick him in the balls and run. Yeah, no, you wouldn't. First of all, the first thing you do is shit yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
The second thing you do is shit yourself. And the third thing you do is get stabbed.
Yeah. Pretty freaking much,
Hey, can I mention a comment? Spudman was saying, Spudman said, this is a comment quite a while ago. I think I'd rather get shot than stabbed. Imagine a cold piece of steel entering your body all past. That's an interesting comment. I've often thought that I would rather be shot than stabbed. But by the same token, I think I'd rather recover from a stabbing than a shooting. Yeah. You know what I mean?
You're more likely to survive a stabbing, because we hear all the time, like if you get stabbed 46 times, people will survive that, right? You're more likely to survive it.
But I'm 100% more afraid of knives.
But I'm more afraid of
really am.
As well than I am of a firearm. Because a firearm, man, it will kill you if you're within here, right? Yeah. A knife, the amount of angles that a person can get at and the sheer like veracity that a person goes at you with, it's a different animal. I'm way more afraid of a knife than I would be of a gun, for sure.
I think you got muted, Kurt.
Oh. Can't hear.
Why can't I hear Kurt?
Mike is not connected.
How's that?
There you go.
There we go.
And so I think that would be the big thing.
Like,
and then
we can hear you now, Kurt, but I'm going to keep talking.
It's good. It's good.
welcome. But the guy who's like, but the guy, and also honestly though, the other thing is like, let's be honest, if some banger rocks up on you with a gun, he's probably not even been cleaned, or it's probably not even
probably not even a gun.
Functional.
Probably not even a functional gun, right?
Yeah, the stabbing is one thing. The slashing, for whatever reason, particularly, it scares me. I suppose. It's.
Sorry, Kurt. Another reason.
It's just
when you die or when you get shot, it's not just the penetration and the bleeding that does it. It's the shock and the shock. Like if you ever watch when somebody shoots ballistic gel, you see that thing just expand and contract and expand and contract. Imagine that happening to your heart or your liver. Like you don't even get shot by your heart. It's like a couple inches to the right or whatever, left or whatever. But that cavitation just turns you into jelly. And
how many times you've been punched in the guts?
Oh,
yeah.
Right. You mean directly in the guts?
Shock? Anywhere around the guts. Like just that shock that goes through. I mean, if it compresses your lungs and every goddamn thing else.
Well, we've all seen a deer that's been lung shot, right? I mean,
amen. Yeah.
Imagine that happening to you. It's just it's unbelievable. We have this connection. He's actually my martial arts mentor, and he knows the craziest people around the world. And he actually set us up with an actual Navy SEAL one time. The guy came to Saskatoon and did a self-defense seminar with us. And I want to make 2 points with this story, not just say, I met a Navy SEAL. The first point that I want to make is that to the point that people have no idea, but they think that they do. He's talking about knife defense. And, while he's demonstrating, the guy that he's demonstrating on just happens to drop the knife, and you could see like the blade of the knife kind of scrapes down along his thigh and his shin, and then falls blade first on top of his foot. And the guy puts his hand up. He's like, yeah, but now you got a cut shin, and now your foot is cut. Like what that's useless. Like, how is that any good? And this I love. You can always tell people that that know, have seen the world for what it really is, right? Because on one hand, they don't give a fuck, but on the other hand, they don't take any shit either.
Yeah.
So he kind of looks at the guy and he says, I got cut. Yeah, cool. That's not the objective. Yeah. When defending against the knife, the objective is to not get cut fatally. If you think you're not going to get cut, you're approaching it with unrealistic expectations.
Right.
And then the guy started arguing with him about that. Like this fucking know-nothing guy from fucking Saskatoon is arguing with a fucking Navy SEAL. And so the guy listens to what the SEAL, he listens to what he says, and he says, that's cool. So I've had 7 people actually try to kill me with a knife. I'm still here. Not all of them are.
Yeah.
So this is what I know is effective. Right. You can take it or you can leave it. I don't really give a shit.
You paid me to come teach you. So
exactly. And then he just kind of like that's where he ends the conversation. He just stares at the guy.
Like that one.
Do you want to say anything more? Or
what you got?
Yeah.
I had a private training session. I had a private training session with the guy, and we were working. I think it's barometer when he pulls you down. So he's demoing, and he pulls me down like this, and he hammer fists me on the back of the head. And I swear to God, man, I pissed my pants and fucking could taste down.
You thought he was a 7-year-old girl?
Oh, shattered in my head. So yeah,
anybody who's been lucky enough to meet anybody who is I think it's a special forces thing. Like I think there's a special breed of person that gets into special forces. And have you guys ever met someone, like Canadian, American, I don't care. Have you guys ever met anybody in person that
we just met a CSOR operator at King of 2 Miles? And
nice. Okay. So
he's definitely a special breed of person.
Yeah. They work on a different level. Right.
Yep.
And I've always wondered, were they born different? or were they different because of what they've seen and done?
Well, I think a lot of it is natural, and a lot of it is learned, taken to a next level.
Yeah.
And it's
like, when you see guys go through buds, or you see guys go through, that hardcore training, which is meant to weed out the people who are not naturally mentally sound, to be able to go into those situations with a small team with an objective and succeed, where there's no other option but succeeding. Right. And it takes a special breed of person to not only execute to such a degree where, like I said, failure is not even on the board. But also to come home with everyone, and come home with all your friends and not friends, but your brothers that you've just trained with for 3 to 5 years, and you've done countless operations and seen a boatload of shit. And this guy I was talking about, I'm not going to name names, but he was in Mogadishu, Somalia, during Black Hawk Down, essentially. And there's shit that he'll see that'll never get out of his head. And he's having PTSD and stuff, but he's seen things that I can't even comprehend, right? Yeah. And
the thing about, sorry, Sean, go ahead.
It's okay. Well, but the mental fortitude you have to be a special forces operator and being able to take lives and be able to bring people home is astronomical. It's gonna fuck you up, but the fact that he's still in society and still going about his business and functional, albeit, he there's a lot of issues he has, but he's still there. He's not, that alone makes him, a hero. And anyway.
Well, the difference with those people, I've come to learn that most people in society don't know people who are willing to do things that other people won't. That there is the key to that type of person. I'm willing to do X where you wouldn't even fucking think of that.
Where you look at a fucking, I got to hit English or French on the ATM, and makes my day be a bad fucking day. What I just decided to do was kill a fucking 14-year-old kid because he had an AK-47, and it was either my life or my buddy's life or his. Fuck you and your bullshit problems. You don't have fucking problems. You don't know what you're doing. Sorry.
Yeah, but you go through all that. You come to backwater, buttfuck nowhere, Saskatchewan, to have some fucking yokel tell you that your knife defense is ineffective, right?
I had a cow charge me one time.
Yeah, exactly.
Or I had a guy outside the King's Hand pub go scored in, bro. Yeah, that's my knife defense. You're so fucking drunk you can't even stand.
That's the other thing too. The caliber of attacker these days.
Oh god,
not these days, just in general. Even let's call it an intermediate level of training is all that's required.
For sure.
I mean, the average person that is attacking people on the street, they're wholly incapable. That's why they try to choose the small, the weak, because they're not capable themselves.
Well, and that's why they do the posturing thing over the actual execution. For sure. They don't know what the fuck they're doing either. Yeah. So they posture.
Yeah. And I think that's why situational awareness is so important for the average person for self-defense, because they just want to catch people unaware. If they just know that you're aware that they exist and that they're there and what's going on around you, they're probably going to pass you by because they don't want a face-to-face conflict with anybody.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
that's true.
There's nobody with any honor anymore when it comes to fighting. It used to be fun.
I actually watched it.
Now you join a martial arts club. It's still fun.
It's kind of funny because I actually I watched a documentary about the Bloods and the Crips, and they were talking to the founders of one of them, and he's like, man, we used to just fight each other in the streets, and it was a lot of fun, and it was good. He goes, but then what happened was that the little guys were getting the shit kicked out of them by all the big guys, so then they would bring a knife to it, and then they would stab them, and the other guys would go get a gun, and that's where it escalated, right? And it's that's how it goes. So I just wanted to mention, we even Kris and I got to meet was he JTF one instructor.
No, he was one of the original JTF2 members.
JTF2 members, wow. Yeah. And yeah, like you look at him and it's like, yeah, he's definitely stared into the void and the void has stared back. You know, you're like, holy fuck, like, you know, he has seen the shit, right?
But he was a fun guy, but like he was like whereas the SEAL was like quiet and very retrospective, but like he knew everything that was going on around him. Yeah. The JTF2 member, he was kind of like that wily, like I'm a little crazy now, like I'm holding it together, but like just barely. He was a lot of fun to be around, actually.
Well, and if you have ever talked to like a 30-year vet of the RCMP who still hasn't really ascended the upper echelons of the program, you know, they're the same fucking way. It doesn't matter. It's
especially if they've been stationed in the north. Mm. I was talking to an RCMP officer, former RCMP officer, a couple of years ago, and he was telling me about when he was stationed up there. He said like the worst thing he ever saw was a guy that was high on who knows what kind of drugs, had killed and mutilated his girlfriend. And by the time they got there, they found him in his bedroom. He had opened up his stomach cavity and spilled his guts all over his bed, and he was playing with his intestines. In his, like, he was still alive and he was just playing with them. He was so high he didn't even know what he did. Like, you can't see that and not change your perspective on life. Like, it's insane.
Right. Shane was actually. Sorry, go on.
No, you go ahead.
Or the amount of times you show up to a suicide and it's a kid who got a hold of his dad's .22 pistol and, you know, put a hole through the roof of his mouth, and, you know, you're never going to forget that shit, you know?
Absolutely not.
Anyway, what about Shane?
Well, Shane Nosad was just saying that he's talked to a few Vietnam combat vets, and, you know, he's basically like, his response was like, it was a job and they had a job and they did it. Do any of you guys listen to, I'm just like, I listen to all these podcasts and YouTube channels. Do you guys listen to Jocko's podcast?
Absolutely.
Fuck yeah.
Okay. Did you guys catch the last episode where they were talking about the WTF book, the Lynn Black?
Not yet.
His book, but they were talking with he had one of Lynn Black's partners in SOG. I'm trying to remember his name. I can't remember. I'm going to butcher it, so I'm not going to do it. But they were, it's like a 3.5 hour long podcast where he's reading this one major engagement, one of the first engagements they had in Vietnam when they were in SOG. And like, that's exactly the tone of Lynn Black's book when they're talking about that, was that they had a job and they did it.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing it's like a very disconnected thing, but probably very necessary, I would imagine.
Right, like that's the reality, you know. That's how the military trains guys.
How did we get talking about the military? None of us have been in the military.
We're just talking
shit about the military.
That's the beauty about podcasts. We just go with the flow, right?
Yeah.
Who has the fortitude to do all that kind of shit though now?
Yeah. What's that?
You know, who has the fortitude to do anything remotely like that kind of stuff anymore now? That's you know, the soft Western society now.
Yeah. We have become far softer. I would agree.
Oh my God, man!
I think you know, and we see it like even in obviously through training and that sort of stuff. You see how people have completely lost any sort of independence, you know, like you've got you know, look at the situations you see in Portland, you're seeing around the world now. You know, everybody wants to be taken care of. They don't have any sense of
take the easy route every time.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and I think that's really fundamentally what we're seeing is this you know, I'm sure you guys have maybe heard of the term. There's the age of it's the age of explorers, the age of conquerors, the age of kings, and then the fall, right? And we're talking kind of
cowards,
age of cowards, basically, right?
And here we are.
Here we are.
We are.
You know, I think that while we're living in the safest time in human history, we're also living at a time of great change, and I think a lot of it has to do with
prefaces.
A lot of it has to do with how easy shit is now. You know, people have not struggled. There's it's like the one woman was screaming. She's at Harvard and she's screaming about how oppressed she was. And I'm like, you're going to Harvard.
You're at Harvard, motherfucker.
Right.
Harvard.
Exactly.
And
you've never taken a walk down the shitty streets, have you?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Cow.
Like I've seen it, man. I've seen it where people, they come down, even 20th Street in Saskatoon, they'll come, A, B, C, D, E, and they'll stay in that, and they're like, oh, we're in the hood. I'm like, man, this is not the freaking hood. We Kris and I have a guy we know, Josh. He's from like what do you call it? I'm gonna say where the hell is he from? The Philippines. What was the city?
Manila.
Manila. Like, he's from Manila. Like, you talk to that guy. He's 21. He'll tell you stories that he remembers of. He always tells me the story, and he's told me 56 times. But like, he remembers, a naked kid standing on the side of the street with a teddy bear in his hand. Like, that's a memory that he has of living there. So us fat North Americans, man, like, we don't know. We really don't know.
You know what? I can't stand anymore going to, like, Mark, you talk about living on the east side. Go to a fucking boys hockey game on the east side there and listen to mums. Fucking delusional bitches. Yeah. You have no fucking idea what hardship is.
Yeah. Well, and this might be naive of me to say, but I've been under the firm belief over the last year that we need a good conventional war to bring us all together.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing that you say that. I think that we like to pretend that we're all civilized and evolved as a species, but we are literally one step removed from flinging our shit at each other. And some of us aren't even that far,
I flung shit just the other day.
Exactly, man.
Is that the right way? Fling, flying, flung?
I think when you're talking about shit, it works every way. It's just past tense, present tense, whatever.
Right.
Shit has been involved. And I think so. Like, the slogan for my business is "For the love of the fight." To safely help people understand one of humankind's most primal expressions. And I truly believe that fighting is so deep-seated to our urge like our survival instinct. Yeah. We need it. And if we don't have a healthy outlet for it, it's so stupid. Like, we understand procreation is probably the strongest urge. Of human urge. So we understand that is the strongest urge. So what did we do? Well, we just invented condoms and the pill and the rhythm method and pulling out and facials and all that sort of stuff.
But second to that,
second to that is it's survival, because we have to survive long enough to fucking procreate. Right? So why do we understand that you can't just teach celibacy to children and expect them not to be a bunch of teenage parents? But we don't understand that you can't tell your child hands off, zero tolerance. You're going to sit. You're not allowed to do anything. You're not allowed to go outside. You're not allowed to play. You're not allowed to roughhouse. You can't play dodgeball because somebody might cry.
Because that's the delusion of civilization.
I agree. Yeah.
I would argue that it's actually agreed somewhat, but I would just say I think it's the ideologies that we're seeing put into the schools, right?
We're better than that.
There's this sense that what we have to do is we have to take the human.
I agree with Luke, by the way. I would have been much happier with a zombie apocalypse.
Fuck yeah. We've tried to take the human,
list, man.
And we've tried to remove all of the evolutionary things that have driven us and that has made us successful. We have tried to remove that. And I'm going to say communism and left, super extreme left ideologies are much more like that than than they are, more centrist ideologies. And that's what we're seeing is this sense of we're trying to change, we're trying to go against human nature. When you say you shouldn't fight, you shouldn't fuck, you shouldn't drink, you shouldn't do these things, these are things that humans evolved on the plains of Africa doing for a long ass time, and you're going to say
we can't cut it out in 40 years, man.
In 40 years, exactly, right?
We're not going to cut it out in the next 1,000 years.
No.
Yeah, and to your point, about needing a war, I'm pretty anti-war for the most part. I'm of the mindset I would rather none of us go to war, but I think what's happened is that we've lived so safe for so long that people have forgotten the sacrifice that was made during the Great Depression, during World War I, World War II. People have forgotten it. Now, war is this thing we're seeing on TV, and it's kept at arm's length. There's a small group of people who sacrifice themselves for the greater good all the time, and we're not seeing it anymore. So while I don't want there to be war, I completely understand the sentiment that we've got a lot of people that need some, like, man, you don't have your avocado fucking toast with right, and now what?
Why do you suppose there's so much unrest in North America right now?
I think it's because
we have no fucking idea. We have no idea, and we're so. This is so stupid because we've never been more connected to the rest of the world than we are right now, but we've never been more separated. It almost seems like, all the stuff that's happening at home. I'm not getting what I want, so God damn it, it's got to be outrage. Fuck what's going on over in the Middle East or Northern Africa.
Yeah,
like that's totally irrelevant somehow. I
know, right? I agree. I get in arguments with people all the time. They'll tell me about this, that, and the other thing, and I'm like, yeah, but we have 3 million or 3 billion people on Earth that live off of less than $1 a day.
Yes,
and we're in the most prosperous time in human history,
and we spend $2.17 every cocksucking day for a fucking large coffee at Tim Hortons,
with extra fucking cream,
and that's on the cheap end.
Cappuccino, Al Pacino. What the fuck?
We have so much unrest. I think we have so much unrest because people are so unhappy. Because you have people we're punching a clock, we're doing the 9 to 5. There's no end in sight,
So they're unhappy in all this prosperity. What's the answer? Make them really unhappy.
Struggle.
Give them more.
Show them the basic needs. Show them what it takes to be a human. Yeah. And that's why Canada was such a strong country through the 50s, 60s, the 70s. This whole thing started going south, but
because it was hard to live.
Well, but then Canada became a country because of Vimy Ridge, because of Passchendaele, that everybody came together, and then World War II started, and same sort of shit. We went to, Juno Beach was one of the, if not the heaviest, I'm not even drinking and I'm slurring.
Whoa.
The heaviest defended beach in all of Normandy, and they fucking stormed it with Bren's and bolt action Lee Enfields. That's because they came together and they're like, we have a job to do, let's do it.
And push the furthest inland.
Exactly. And then
Yeah.
It's the same thing. You fast forward to the early 2000s. You got Afghanistan, you got Iraq and special forces in Iraq that you do not fuck with Canadian special forces. How many times has everyone heard that? But then you got Afghanistan, where the Taliban was terrified of Canadians. We need something to bring us together, and we're swinging the pendulum too far one way. And it's going to swing back and overcorrect the other way, and we're going to find the balance.
You know what the answer is, Sean? We need to bring back sport fighting, or we're not bring it back, but I mean, it needs to be more prevalent. Yeah. You guys may not know this; it's actually illegal in Saskatchewan right now. Full contact fighting is illegal. Amateur full contact fighting is illegal in Saskatchewan. Has been since 2015 or 14. Mark 15.
How did that come about?
Yeah. Well, because they tried to bring up UFC.
Karen's little boy got hurt.
Pretty much, yeah.
Well, it's actually a lot like that. A guy in Weyburn was holding an amateur pro-am MMA event, and he had a couple of young kids do a full contact MMA fight, and an organization in Saskatchewan didn't really like that. And frankly, like, I can get that. I can get on board with that. I mean, full contact, kids knocking each other out at that age, we're not in Thailand. Kids aren't fighting to feed their family. It's not really necessary. And it is kind of dangerous. But that's when the government took notice, and they just decided that amateur fighting, no. But at the same time, they wanted the UFC. So they developed a professional commission. The government did. So pro fighting is allowed. But they never did an amateur commission, and how
do you get to pro then?
If
you don't,
somebody's got to pay you,
dude. There's people that are going straight to pro. It's ridiculous.
Jesus.
There's people that just don't,
and that's not dangerous careers. At all.
Well, it's silly because it ensures that our province is never going to compete on a bigger stage.
For sure.
Because we've got guys that, like, if you're 3-0 in professional MMA in Saskatchewan, you're a lot of times 3-0, period.
Yeah.
You want to go compete in Ontario, for example. The guy who's 3-0 in professional MMA is like 10-3 in amateur MMA.
Right.
Yeah. Plus,
how are you going to compete with that?
Plus, he's got a dozen exhibition matches too that he's fought. Right. So
that reminds me. I used to live in Flin Flon for a couple of years.
Sorry to hear that. I was born.
I gotta ask. Do you know anybody with the last name of Reben from Flin Flon?
A Reben? No, I can't say as I do.
Okay. Okay.
This just reminded me. Like, there used to be there had been a couple of events here where so you think you want to be a fighter or whatever, and anybody could come do the MMA thing.
Yeah,
and
we
you know what?
Did those. Yeah.
Flin Flon is sort of a notoriously tough town, right?
Yeah.
And I know of one guy personally who was pretty tough in Flin Flon, came down, got his ass handed to him. Yeah. Like, all this kind of talk makes me think of exactly that.
Yeah. It's all about perspective. When you're the big fish in the small pond, you don't know how small the pond is until you go try and leap into another pond.
Star Wars adage, there's always a bigger fish.
There's always a bigger fish.
There's always a bigger fish. Yes. Fuck Jar Jar Binks. And everyone who looks like him.
But and that's actually just it. Like, with some of these the tough mans or whatever they call them, like, they'll literally be like, pay us $50. We'll give you a set of gloves. We'll give you a class, and then we'll put you in there. Then these guys will literally go in there. You'll get guys that are, actually have a little bit of training. They'll hop in there, beat the crap out of these guys, and be like, "Yeah, man, I'm 6-0 in MMA." Yeah. Then
I'm a hero.
I'm a hero, right? And then they'll rock off to Ontario and just get friggin' stomped. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, then that's exactly what happens. I'll give you the best analogy. So Brazilian Jiu Jitsu is the newest martial art that I picked up. I've only been doing it for several years. I'm only a blue belt. Well, I mean, that's the second belt. It's literally the second belt for
That's two more belts than I have.
But it's like,
Sean, you have more than two. Come on.
I just have one really big one.
Big one. You got to tie it together. I feel you, man. I feel you.
But like, I train in my with my students. Okay. And, guys half my age and et cetera, and if I can tap my students and blah blah blah, and everybody looks at me as like, as the coach, right? I mean, and everything that goes along with that. So I can have a huge head about that and think that I'm the tits because I can tap any of my students in my club. I could, or
big fella.
I could go to the head of our affiliation in Ottawa and train with any of their blue belts, let alone their purple belts or their brown belts or their black belts, and get tapped and, folded into a pretzel 10 ways from Sunday in the first 3 minutes. Yeah. And that is, I think, a major problem that Saskatchewan has with a lot of things, and not just martial arts, is that we've been like pre-1960s China for the majority of our existence. We're literally landlocked on all four sides, but we're an island in so many ways. We always have to do it our own way. We can't take anyone else's feet, learn from anybody else. And all it's really done is it's kept us from becoming
we're isolated. Exactly. Yeah, for sure.
No, it's definitely a major issue for sure. Yeah.
Spudman's brown belt holds his pants up.
my favorite. My favorite,
personally green. Olive.
Mine's. I got a paracord belt.
my favorite is always I know Jiu Jitsu and karate and Muay Thai and a bunch of East Asian words that I don't know.
Right.
They can't even
exactly.
Right on.
Well, the whole thing about challenging yourself too. I kind of derived that from this conversation. Challenging yourself versus being that guy at the top. I've seen it in kids' sports. My boys are 15 and soon to be 12, and I see it in the sports that my kid is the top of tier 2 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
He's a fucking superstar.
Yeah.
Okay, why didn't you put him in tier 1 then, or press to get him into tier 1 where he'd be challenged and to get better instead of coasting and being the best of a lower class. That whole
king shit at Third Island.
Being satisfied with mediocrity. That's our goal anymore. Is mediocrity. We don't want to outshow anybody else, and we want to be with the rest of the herd. Like Sean, you've heard me say many times, fuck the herd. I fucking hate the herd. I don't want to be part of the herd, but I want to know exactly where the goddamn herd is.
That's right.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And
but the herd's just going off a cliff.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So don't fucking follow.
But I want to watch them.
Yeah. Well, people are celebrating mediocrity now. You see it all the time, and parents.
Yeah, man.
Parents, like it's funny because I'll be coaching or I'll be working with students, and we'll be doing something, and I tell them, like, guys, you're not going to win the gym. I'm not handing out gold medals today. I'm not handing out anything, right? Your goal today is to get better. But yeah, like you'll see parents in some of these sports. Like I have a nephew, and his dad is like living vicariously through him through hockey because he's going to be the greatest. And I'm like, he's okay, but like, is he? Like,
there's nothing wrong with that as long as it's regulated. Like, go ahead and live through your kid, which is fantastic.
Really fair,
give him everything you can.
No, I agree with you there.
Think
but
unrealistically.
Unrealistically, right? You have to be able to self-regulate, and you need to be able to self-critique, because that's what we've really lost as a society, I think, is the ability to look at ourselves through the lens of, okay, people say, well, things really, things always things happen for a reason. Yeah, sometimes the reason is you make bad decisions and you're stupid as shit. Like, that's the reason, right? And people have completely lost that ability to actually,
or just the ability to take criticism in general.
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of like, oh, you said what? I'm offended.
Yeah,
it's like no.
Maybe I am a
bigger victim.
I just told you did this wrong. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, anyway,
maybe I am a shithead. Anyway,
exactly. you can get pissy about it, and you can wet your pants about it, or you can actually take the advice that I gave you. It's not like I just walked up to you and said you're a piece of shit. I told you what you were doing wrong so that you can fix it.
Or the first thing you said to me, very first class I had, was, "You're a piece of shit." No,
I did actually say that. Yeah. I said,
well, you know what? Everything in life is about decisions, right?
That's right.
You can decide to be offended, or you can fucking do something about it.
That's right.
That's the thing.
And even if
that's
you
what's
don't
missing,
agree,
I think.
Yeah. And like, especially like you guys are in business, Kurt, you're in construction. How many fucking people say, I know, when you give them criticism, and they don't know,
really,
right? And so, like,
show me, jackass. Yeah, right.
Yeah, like, and the same thing goes for business too. In an office setting, you don't say I know. Even if you disagree with what they're saying, you can take bits and pieces from what they're doing, because they're coming over to you to give you guidance to help you get better.
Absolutely.
And, you know, whether you agree with it or not, look, this person who, let's say it's your supervisor, they're in that role and you aspire to be in that role, I would hope, or whatever, you know, it doesn't matter. You know, take what you can from it, even if you did disagree with it. And how many fucking kids these days won't even work at fucking Tim Hortons? And if they do, they say, hey, you got to get going faster. Fuck you, Dad. You're not my real dad. Like, you know,
you're not my real dad.
Yeah, it's like,
I'm just your shift supervisor.
Yeah, like, you know,
who has no spine as well.
Yeah, where kids just want to go play Fortnite and Call of Duty and, you know, watch fucking Game of Thrones and or whatever it is now, and you know, it's anyway. I've
go to
got
one
a
of Chris's
4-year-old
classes and tell him I know.
Yeah.
See how that goes.
Tell me, you know, when I got my hooks in a rear naked choke, and
man,
I know. Can you let go of my throat now?
I've literally had people. be like, you know, I'll show them something. And they're like, yeah, I know. I'm like, no, you don't. But okay, and then it's like,
if you did, I'd have seen it already.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But you gotta let.
You got somebody in a Kimura, and they're like, oh, I showed you how to get out of this. I know, and then my arm. Yeah,
well, exactly it. Well, oh man, okay, that's a rabbit hole that like.
Yeah, we're going. We just went down. We haven't even talked. I think I asked my last question at like 29 minutes into the show, and we just went on an hour-long rabbit hole.
Well, let me ask you guys this. So really what we're just going to take over your podcast here. What we're really talking about here is being teachable. Yep. So how does a person become teachable? Are they going to become teachable by being,
if you will?
Hey.
Yeah, exactly. Are they going to become teachable by having everything given to them and everything told to them and everything shown to them? Or are they going to be teachable by being put in situations where they are going to struggle, but it is designed so that they can succeed and learn?
Right, exactly.
That's what's missing from our society. There's no more struggle for anything. You're either set up to fail, and so your struggle is met with failure, or
you give up anyway.
To you on a silver platter, and you don't have to struggle for it in the first place.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. And there's
These
no
are
respect.
The struggles with the ex-wives.
Yes.
Trust me.
Like, just expanding on what Kris
My wife
said.
is a great first wife, okay?
I hope to God you never introduce her like that. This is my first wife.
Yeah.
I made that mistake once. No, but that is so fucking true.
You know, humility is a big thing. If you know your limits, and if somebody's trying to teach you something, show humility and show respect, and that you'll go places. You know, this is what it is.
Will. Absolutely.
That's tough to do. We've talked about this about the shooting sports before, and what it is to be teachable, and what sort of mindset you have to go into it. A lot of it is desire.
Sure.
And there's a lot of people. I'm not going to say most people, but so many people anymore don't have really the desire to do a whole lot of fuck all.
Yeah.
And that's a problem too, right? How are they going to figure out what they want to do if they've never had an opportunity to try something and fail at it?
Well, try something and fail at it, or have to be forced to do something.
Sure.
Right.
You know, a lot of the most successful people out there have been forced into survival of some sort. And they just made lemonade out of lemons.
That, or they got, you know, $1 million loan from their dad, and
wow,
so he's a self-made man with a small $1 million loan from the
So
a
great talk there. That was awesome.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic.
Again, if you guys ever want to do this again, just say the word and we can do it.
This,
you know what, guys?
This could turn into something great, you guys.
I agree.
You guys tell us when you want a virtual hug, and we'll be here with bells on.
Oh, back off, lady.
We'll definitely bring you guys. We'll definitely bring you guys on to DeEducated, so you guys can rant and rave with us, and
we'll take over your show and just talk about guns and
we won't.
That's good. That's
Like
good.
I said, I think we're outgunned in this, but God damn it, we're gonna try.
Well,
Yeah.
it's an interesting thing. Mark has a tendency to talk over people. I have a tendency to talk over Mark.
Yeah.
And it's bad enough when it's just the two of us on a show. We're very poor at allowing other people to have a conversation. We suck.
You guys do compliment each other quite well, though.
Yes.
You do.
Oh, thank you.
Well,
Yeah.
appreciate that. That's good.
We just need to learn to allow other people to talk on a podcast.
It's good. It's good, buddy.
Right on. Cool.
Well, thanks, guys. We appreciate it.
Thank
For
you
those
very
of you
much.
who are listening, go check out bothactioncoffee.com. Use code First Focal Plane to get 10% off because it is kick-ass coffee. If you need a long-range build, check out EM Precision Rifles in Leduc, Alberta. They're
I
the
saw
way to
that
go.
rifle you got, man. That looks sweet.
That is sexy as shit.
It is good. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and then
Very fortunate boy.
Mhm.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I can't thank those guys enough. Thanks, Shane and Steve. And Miles and Chris or Miles, Cappy, and Carrie at callsign 66. If you guys need training, check them out. Callsign66.ca. And then Project Maple Seed. Check them out. Chris is a IIT with them. Rick is a friend of the show, one of the founders of Project Maple Seed. I think their season's just winding down a little bit, but check them out on Facebook. And what's the website, Chris?
Still a couple more in Alberta. It's mapleseedrifleman.com is their
There you
website.
Right. And they got events via Eventbrite. So if there's spots available, get in on it because you will learn a bunch.
Still
and we
a
didn't
couple
even
more
talk
going
about
on in Alberta.
Yeah. So check them out. And I think that's it.
Right on.
Fantastic. Oh, well, if anybody wants to see us, we're DeEducated.ca.
Yes.
There you go.
That would be good too.
Yeah, I guess we should talk about that, right?
Thanks.
Cool.
Or just
All right.
follow the link that you guys put in your Facebook page earlier. That'll work too.
Yes.
We put a link on our Facebook page.
I think so. When you said that Kris and Jeff were coming on the show.
Oh yeah, I know.
Mark.
Anyway,
It's all good. Right on. Thanks
Thanks,
guys.
Jeff.
guys, appreciate it.